Yes, I wanted to talk about Project 2025, which is an abomination birthed by the conservative think tank called the Heritage Foundation, which was founded in the 1970s and seems to be obsessed with dismantling our secular government and replacing it with a theocracy. I'm not sure if Trump has ever publicly endorsed Project 2025, but he does seem to be surrounded. Hi, Editing Legume here. I felt that I had to make a bit of an update to that previous statement. This video was recorded back in June of 2024. Since then, Donald Trump has taken a stand on Project 2025. He made a post on Truth Social stating that he knew nothing about Project 2025 and that he disagreed with some of the things that it says, and that he finds parts of it to be ridiculous and abysmal. That's right. He claimed that he disagrees with Project 2025 while simultaneously professing that he doesn't even know what it says. He also professed to be ignorant of the creators of Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation. Now, wouldn't it just be a proper shame if we had videos of Trump recorded prior to his Truth Social post, waxing poetic about the Heritage Foundation and bragging about how they are laying the groundwork for what Trump's next term in the White House is going to look like?
Because our country is going to hell. The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork, and Heritage does such an incredible job at that. And I'm telling you, with Kevin and the staff, and I met so many of them now, I took pictures with among the most handsome, beautiful people I've ever seen. I didn't like that picture. If you could lose that picture, please, would you, Kevin? But this is a great, no, he says I won't do that. But this is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America. And that's coming. That's coming.
So, Donald Trump is a liar. Nothing we didn't already know, but since this was a recent development that took place after Lynn and I had recorded our video, I thought it was worth mentioning. Anyway, back to the video. I'm not sure if Trump has ever publicly endorsed Project 2025, but he does seem to be surrounding himself with a lot of the evangelical conspiracy theorists.
The only thing more fun than listening to him is listening to the liberals whine about that he had the audacity to skip the climate summit. And, you know, I tell people, Todd, all the time, I mean, this president is brilliant. I mean, he decides to skip attending a session on an imaginary crisis, climate change, and instead he chooses to lead his own conference on a very real problem, global persecution. God said he created the environment to serve us, not for us to serve the environment. And look, you know, this Greta Thunberg, the 16-year-old, she was warning today about the mass extinction of humanity. Somebody needs to read poor Greta Genesis chapter 9 and tell her next time she worries about global warming, just look at a rainbow. That's God's promise that the polar ice caps aren't going to melt and flood the world again.
You know, it's just strange to me how so many are overreacting. The H1N1 virus in 2009 killed 17,000 people. It was the flu also, I think. And there was not the same hype. It was, you just didn't see it on the news 24/7. And it makes you wonder if there's a political reason for that. It's you know, impeachment didn't work, and the Mueller report didn't work, and Article 25 didn't work, and so maybe now this is their next attempt to get Trump. But I had the owner of a restaurant asked me last night. He said, "You remember the North Korean leader promised a Christmas present for America back in December. Could it be they got together with China and this is that present? I don't know, but it really is something strange going on."
Every indication is that a barrage of court cases has been planned and will quickly be filed against those who hold to politically incorrect views of marriage. Many of us will be dragged into court to be prosecuted or subjected to civil judgments. Some will lose their jobs. Some will lose their professional licenses. Some will be persecuted and ridiculed and fined. Some may go to prison as the years unfold.
For angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now. Africa right now. Africa right now. From Africa right now. They're coming here. They're coming here. In the name of Jesus. From South America. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. From Africa. From South America. Angelic forces. Angelic reinforcement. Angelic reinforcement. Angelic reinforcement.
I do very well with the evangelicals. I love the evangelicals.
Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa kata rite eke banda ata rike didi ashata.
So whether he's publicly endorsed it or not, I do think that he has close ties to it. And I wanted your perspective, as particularly as someone who has studied law. I was hoping first we could read through a brief summary. It's from Wikipedia. It's just the first part of the Wikipedia article, but it'll just give us a quick rundown, a summary, and if we could read through that and then discuss it afterward. Project 2025, also known as the Presidential Transition Project, is a collection of policy proposals from the Heritage Foundation to reshape the U.S. federal government in the event of a Republican victory. Blah, blah, blah. It aims to recruit tens of thousands of conservatives to the District of Columbia to replace existing federal civil servants, whom Republicans characterize as part of the deep state, and to further the objectives of the next Republican president. I'm going to skip some of that. I just copied and pasted the whole thing, but I'm going to just read, select, highlight. The plan proposes slashing funding for the Department of Justice, dismantling the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Department of Homeland Security, sharply reducing environmental and climate change regulations to favor fossil fuel productions, eliminating the Department of Commerce, and ending the independence of federal agencies such as the Federal Communications Commission and Federal Trade Commission. The project urges government to explicitly reject abortion as health care and eliminate the Affordable Care Act's coverage of emergency contraception. The project seeks to infuse the government with elements of Christianity. It proposes criminalizing pornography and removing protections against discrimination based on sexual or gender identity, and terminating diversity, equity, and inclusion programs as well as affirmative action. The project advises the future president to immediately deploy the military for domestic law enforcement and direct the DOJ to pursue Donald Trump's adversaries by invoking the Insurrection Act of 1807. It recommends the arrest, detention, and deportation of undocumented immigrants. It promotes capital punishment and the speedy finality of such sentences. Project Director Paul Dans explained that Project 2025 is systematically prepared to march into office and bring a new army, aligned, trained, and essentially weaponized conservatives ready to do battle against the deep state. So, from the perspective of someone who studied law, can this even happen legally? And what sort of laws would have to be changed or broken before this could take effect? Is this a real threat, or is this them just inserting a ridiculous level of extremism into the public consciousness so that more mainstream ideas may become less objectionable in the future compared to this? Or what do you think on this?
Yeah, so those are all excellent questions, and I think we should approach them one at a time, because they really can get into some good specifics with each one. But I mean, first of all, I'm really glad that you wanted to talk about this, because I know more and more people are talking about it and becoming aware of it. But everybody needs to know about it right now, because it's such a big deal.
And I do have a question. Yeah. Do you think that this is a serious, in terms of, is saying we can't elect Trump because the Heritage Foundation wants him to do that, is that equivalent to saying we can't elect Joe Biden because my crazy uncle supports Joe Biden and when he gets into office wants Joe Biden to replace the military with balloon animals? Like, is this, like, do we care? And does Trump care what the Heritage Foundation says? Is it fair to say that he might act on this? Or how important is the Heritage Foundation, would you say? Is this something that has Trump's ear?
The grim reality is that parts of it have already been implemented. We've already seen this plan starting to take effect and take shape and affect people's daily lives. And that's how I know it's real, and that's how I know this is important, and that's how I know that they are just getting started.
Would that be overturning of Roe versus Wade and 10 Commandments in classrooms? Is that
absolutely? That's right there.
Right now, new laws banning abortion are taking effect in several states, just hours after the court overturned the landmark Roe versus Wade decision.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
You're not going to find the separation of church and state in the Constitution. It's not there. The Bible is a necessary historical document to teach our kids about the history of this country. So we will be issuing a memo today that every school district will adhere to, which is that every teacher, every classroom in the state will have a Bible in the classroom, and we'll be teaching from the Bible in the classroom.
Who likes the 10 Commandments, by the way, going up in the schools? They think it's such a bad thing. I said, has anyone read the thou shalt not steal, thou shalt... I mean, has anybody read this incredible stuff? It's just incredible.
So when you go to vote this November, please go to vote this November. That's what you're voting for, is not just the president. What you're voting for is who the president picks. And the president is very closely associated with people in the Heritage Foundation. And this is their manifesto. This is their wish list. And yeah, a lot of think tanks have a wish list, and that may not mean much in DC. I have a wish list for DC, and it's not going anywhere. But as far as policy goes, but these are people who can actually get it done and have already started to get it done. So the Supreme Court justices that Trump nominated, who he got confirmed during his last term, were all closely associated with the Heritage Foundation and have shown their intent, their willingness to implement these policies on this insane wish list that is supported by a lot of hate speech. I started reading not the playbook, but what's called the leadership manual, or the how to manage leadership or something. It's the other thing that's not the playbook. It spells out in fine detail what steps they intend to take to implement their agenda, their what you just read from Wikipedia, all these ways that they want to reduce the government to doubles, and there are fine details that spell out what they're going to do, and then there are sections of just hate-filled rhetoric. It's amazing. They substantiate what they want to do by saying that we need to go back to family values, and which means people being married and having kids, and which is great for some people. Don't get me wrong. Right. If you want to have a family and get married and all that, I will celebrate that with you, but it's not for everyone. And they do mention religion, they mention Christianity, and they pay some lip service to Judaism, but we know that that's not what they actually want to promote. Right. But they really do show their fear of people who are different also. I don't know where they got this, when they started to equate trans people with groomers, but that's in there.
Yeah, that gets thrown around a lot. I mean, not necessarily I'm not as familiar with Project 2025, I think, as you are, but just in the world, that seems to be the case, that they throw those terms around as if they're interchangeable.
Make no mistake about it. What's happening here is the slippery slope, and the end goal, the benchmark of success for these people is to make it legal to have sex with your children. That's where this is headed. Unfettered, unbridled, unlimited sexual access to your children.
And Justin Trudeau, I mean, the most woke prime minister of all time, basically yesterday putting out a tweet stating that they stand unequivocally with the LGBTQ. But here's the problem. They're not standing with the people that are in Canada, with the people that have religious convictions and that do not accept gender ideology, that have had it shoved down their throats. This is an open door for grooming and pedophiles to be in our schools grooming our children.
I don't really care what your religious ideology is, or your political ideology, or who you claim, or what group you claim to be with. Who supports having sex with kids?
Well, yeah, and in this document, they're presenting that support for government policy that that's actually been substantiated, and without presenting any kind of scientific backing or any kind of studies that might show that it's a real concern.
Well, a lot of it just seems downright unconstitutional, and I would have to imagine there are other laws besides just the umbrella of the Constitution. Like, I mean, a lot of things would have to either be changed or just, we don't care about that anymore, right? I mean, like, how hard of a battle would they have? Like, even if they got the election results they wanted, Trump's in office, Republican majorities, like, how much of a legal battle would it be? Or would they even care? I mean, it seems like the Constitution is pretty clear about the 10 Commandments in schools, but they just, sue me, I'm looking forward to it. But, they just do it anyway. So, like, how much of a struggle do you think it would be to get this nightmare to become reality? Or would it be any struggle at all?
Well, see, I grew up thinking that along those same lines, I felt more secure in our system. We had this government of three bodies that had checks and balances against each other, and as far as we all knew, that was going to be in place forever, and we were all safe, and they wouldn't let bad things happen to us, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, that is no longer the case, and I'm very, very concerned, because those same checks and balances are eroding. They are taking them away from us as we speak. The recent Supreme Court cases are eroding what the government has built already. So the agencies are given less power. They're trying to tip the scales. So it is entirely possible. It may not be super likely, but the possibility and the trend that we're seeing make me very scared that we could see within our lifetime the scales actually tipping to a place where the maybe two branches, the Congress and the courts, or the President and the Supreme Court, have enough power to make the changes that they want to make all of this from Project 2025 a reality. And with the backing of the military, which they told us they want to use the military to control U.S. civilians. And they could do that. I mean, this is a real possibility that I would hate to look back, someday on this moment and talk about, the point when we had the structure of government where we actually, the people, did have control. Because we could lose it. We were taught that we would always have it, and that's not the case. You do have to actively defend and maintain democracy.
Yeah. Yeah, the last election between Biden and Trump, I didn't vote in it.
Shame!
I wasn't particularly fond of either one, and I had recently moved and changed states, and it was just there's got to be a process for getting voter registration up here in the new state, right? But this a lot of bother. I don't really care, but I finally did go take the steps to get new voter registration card. So yeah, I don't think there's been an election in my lifetime that I have been as invested in and felt like had such heavy stakes riding on it. I guess the most positive thing I can say is that I think things are shifting in the right direction in this country. That movement, there are more atheists. I'm just butchering my sentences. I'm sorry. I'm going to try that again. Religion is definitely declining. More people are walking away from religion. It's at a steady rate. Like, at this rate, at some point, Christianity is just going to be another mythology along the lines of Greek mythology. Something fun to study, but nobody is going to believe it. Well, I mean, maybe somebody, because in my lifetime, I've known a guy who said that he prayed to Odin, and I don't know if that just means that he believed in a higher power, and that's what he liked to call it. I don't actually know if he believed in Odin, but at some point, I mean, even the old religions never entirely go away, I guess, but at some point, Christianity will be there, where nobody believes it except for maybe some weirdo, possibly. But I think the people that, the Christians and the far-right extremists, they know that they are on the verge of extinction. I think that's one of the reasons why they are acting out. And I think that's a positive thought to keep in mind. The reason that they're doing such extreme actions, I take that to mean that they know they are losing. And this is hopefully their last desperate charge. And if this fails, hopefully things hopefully we win. Get out there, vote. But hopefully this will be the end, and this will be the last time we have an election quite like this.
Hopefully, yes.
Do you have any further thoughts?
Well, just one more thought on that that I didn't quite work in there was that the laws change in different ways. I mean, I mentioned the different branches of government could tip the scales in different ways, but that's because there are many different ways to get something accomplished in how the law changes. So there is, of course, changing the Constitution, which could happen with enough support. And there could be acts of Congress, acts of the President, and acts of the court. And we could actually see our Constitution changed. So that was my final thought.
Okay, well, thank you for killing the positivity, the high note that I tried to go out on.
Did I mention vote?
I think we did mention it, but it's worth mentioning again. Vote! Yeah, I think we might close this video out, and because you still have questions for me, I believe, but please do check out her book. It is good. Again, I haven't finished it yet, but so far I have been loving it. It's delightful, it's funny, and you might learn some stories from the Bible that you had no idea were in there. There is actually a pretty complicated collection of notes at the back of the book explaining where she got different inspiration.
Yeah, well, it's a section with annotations and commentary, so...
It's a much better way of wording it. I was struggling to find words, yes.
I just wanted people to know, I guess, where I derived the parallelisms from the Bible, and to show you that, yes, they are actually in there, because I pinpoint citations. I got real nerdy with this, but I've read other books that are in this same genre, and I've enjoyed them, and was curious after I read them, what's this based on? Like, is this really in the Bible? And that's, I guess, why I included my own, so that people wouldn't have to wonder.
I'm glad you did. And check out the book and include a link to her channel. Hopefully she'll have something up by the time this goes up. If not, please do subscribe anyway, because at some point she does intend to post on her channel.
There will be stuff.
Okay, so yes,
coming.
There will be a link to the book in the description, and there will be a link to the channel. And I guess I'll say goodbye to you, the audience. We'll still be here, still recording for a while yet. But, yeah, later.
Bye.